And so this slide kind of helps tell us how the reports are related. Your aggregate reports, those reports that are required for you to view and check off to certify, are in orange. The green are the supporting reports. And as you can see, um, report 2.4, EL Education Services, drills down to the report 2.7, EL Education Services student list. Any report that says list, detail, usually is line by line, courses, line by line, students, line by line, staff. It's the report that gives you the information. They can often be overlooked by new people doing CALPADS because they're not required for certification. Certification is just the counts. It's what the CDE wants to see and the federal government. However, the actual detail, the records that represents our students, staff, and courses are in those detailed reports. So when we look at report 2.4, EL Education Services student count unduplicated, this report is important because it relays uh, what what services are provided to our EL. So you see in column 1 is the total count of English learners, and then it's a breakdown of how they are counted as receiving services. What you can't see in the title of the different services is the number that's associated. That would be the code. You can see it in 5 and 6, but if this was expanded, you would see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Students are only reported once. They might receive several different services, but there's a hierarchy that determines these services, and it's down here in the footer of the report. And so it says, if 1 and 2, 3, or 4, or 5, or 6, then the student is counted 1. What that means, if the student has at least one course that's providing education service code 1, that would be primary language of instruction, in any combination of 2, 3, 4, or 5, or 6, they're going to be counted as 1. They're not going to be represented in any of these other columns. That's because primary language of instruction is at the top of the hierarchy. And just to do one other, we'll do 5 because that's no services. No services is appropriate if you have an English learner and that course is not providing services. A scenario in which this might be true, even if you have a staff member teaching the student that's authorized, is the parent opts out of services. So there are uses for 5. What you can't have is this last column. You cannot certify with any counts in this last column. You see on this example, there's 2. Education service code missing. That means there's 2 EL students, or it could be a single student in 2 classes, and the education service code is not populated in their course section. That triggers a Cert 104 error. You cannot certify with a fatal error. And so you would have to resolve those errors, and that might be populating no English learner services or populating what services that student receives. Report 2.5 is the staff or teacher version of 2.4. EL Education Services unduplicated count of teachers. So it follows the same hierarchy. A teacher may be authorized to provide several different services, might provide several different services in multiple classes, but they're going to be counted once based on the hierarchy. Remember, just because your staff is authorized does not mean they're providing services. They actually have to have an EL student enrolled into their class. So common question I get is, all of my teachers are authorized to teach services, and I populated the education service code for every class. But when you look into the details, there won't be an EL student in that class. So how is that teacher providing service, right? So that's why we had that slide with the 3 different elements of what's needed for EL services. Report 2.6 EL count by primary language. Again, this is your census day count. of just English learners. In fall one, we have the English language acquisition status, which had every student's English language acquisition status as of fall one. This is specific to ELs. Report 2.7, English Education Services student list. So it provides information about your EL students and their education service that they're getting counted for in 2.4. This is the supporting report in the diagram Karen showed you. How many different course sections? Remember that, and then if they have primary language of instruction, code 1, between course sections and education services, instructional language. And so you would expect to see a corresponding instructional language with the primary language. Report 3.1, class size by content area. Remember, class size is reported in your SARC, and it's identified in CALPADS by your class ID. This is talked about in data population. And so your class ID should be unique. If it's not, you will have exaggerated class sizes. That's something you want to be aware of. Report 3.2 is class enrollment by content area. And this just breaks down the enrollment of the students in the courses by their race, ethnicity, demographics. Report 3.3, class enrollment student list. When we talk about the student list reports, you're going to have a list of the students, the SSID, along with general demographic information, and they're going to have they're going to be grouped into the class. So you can see you have your course section ID and your class ID and the state course code along with the staff member's name and seed. It's almost like a roster. And then you have course section enrollment count and details. This is a larger report. There's 26 elements. It doesn't feature the details about the students, but it's a detail about each course, and it has a list of the different courses. And so you can see the elements that are in the course section, and it's specific to each course section. It's easy to point out in data population, but in CALPADS, you have your course information and your course section information. So if you think like every algebra course has the same standards, right? It doesn't matter if it's at high school A and high school B in the same district, those algebra classes should be the same. All of those students in that algebra class should get the same education. But there might be course section details that are specific. And so a report like this will tell you that. And, what if the student's taking an independent study algebra class or an online algebra class? Or if the algebra class is taught by multiple teachers, those are course section specific details that are shown in report 3.7. Report 3.8, course section enrollment count by content area. This combines some of the course content information along with the students enrolled. It's also used for assignment monitoring. So when you're thinking about those EL students or special education students, identifying those students and looking at their course section enrollment, making sure the content is, meeting their requirements. Report 4.1, staff count and FTE by job classification. So the important thing is to recognize that the unduplicated total, those three columns grouped together, are representative of your staff, and they're counted once and only once. However, the remaining columns, which are the job classifications, are duplicated. And so a teacher could be counted in the teacher column that is also counted as an administrator. And so they won't necessarily always add up if you have staff in multiple job classifications. That's something to be aware of. So It's not a report that you're going to read from left to right and expect the columns to add up. Report 4.2, staff and count and FTE by job classification disaggregated. Just the supporting report for 4.1, a little bit greater detail. Report 4.3, staff teaching assignment detail, just like the report 3.7. It's a report used for assignment monitoring. We'll cover this additionally in a little bit, but you can see some of the important columns here. You have a look at your total years of service for your staff members, a field that you have to update or your student information system has to update. CALPADS does not roll over. Identification of your independent study courses, or in column 19, column 18 will show you your courses that are for students with disabilities. And then your EL course enrollment, if you have any EL students enrolled, yes or no. Report 4.4, staff profile list. And I should go back. These reports are identified because these are the reports that have been suggested that you provide your curriculum and instruction staff. Those who answer or resolve exceptions in assignment and monitoring, or if you want to avoid them to begin with, this information is important to them. Report 4.4, staff profile list. This is a detailed report of all the staff members reported. It's a supporting report. Again, it can be used to identify those inexperienced teachers. Report 4.5, non classroom-based assignment. So those teaching assignments are the course sections reported and have seeds attached to them. But all your pupil services and administrators will have non-classroom-based assignments reported. Some of your teachers might have non-classroom-based assignments, even if they are teaching students. That's perfectly normal and acceptable. You might teach one course and be a mentor teacher the rest of the time. Several different scenarios. One thing I want to highlight on this slide is we have an example of the 60/20 other certificated non-instructional assignment. We highly discourage you using this code. It's an automatic exception. Part of the reason why we have CALSASS and we had one version of course redesign is the state course codes and non-classroom based assignments didn't line up with our staff credentials. And so they made efforts to do that. Other doesn't line up with anything. That's why it's always a potential exception. Report 17.1, post-secondary status outcome. So this is your report related to the PSTS. Again, just emphasize that the PSTS is for those LEAs that only have grade, or not only have, but have grades 9 through 12. If you have just elementary or middle school and elementary, you don't have to report a PSTS record. And so this tells us the outcome count for our CTE completers. And then report 17.2 is the supporting report for 17.1. It lists each student. If a student has multiple outcomes submitted, the student will be listed more than once. Okay, so we're going to take a little bit of time kind of to talk about assignment monitoring. Again, the greatest source of information is always to type CalSAS information. It's at the CTC website. And so there's a lot of information. You can see the source for a lot of the next several slides came straight from this. We do attempt to make it a little bit easier since we reference these information all the time, at least during fall 2. It might be easiest for to locate it. And so we do include it in the training. But, you know, it is beneficial to become more and more familiar with this. All right. And so this slide is old, or this graphic is old. The slide's not necessarily that old. And I think the important thing is we want to tell you is assignment monitoring is not how to it's not permanent. It's a process. A potential exception is not specifically a misassignment. It's not automatic. There is after CalPADS a resolution process in which your curriculum instruction staff and your administrators might have to, you know, resolve these exceptions. And they could be legitimate. They could be you had a new staff member and at the time CalPADS was submitted, they didn't have a seed. Now they do. The authorizations line up. It could be a college course wasn't reported correctly, CalPADS code error. Um, that can be resolved. Um, Several different scenarios in which exceptions, maybe the local assignment option that makes the assignment valid wasn't populated in CalPADS. Again, the data population training tells you about the local assignment option fields. Each local assignment option is defined in the CalPADS code set. So uh, we don't want to try to finagle the data that we have or our administrators' information or our staff members' information thinking about CalSAS. We want to make sure that we report what we have and we just go through the process. So all four file types are going to be used for assignment monitoring. It's not just the course, it's not just the SAS or the student course enrollment. Everything will be used, right? So consider that when you're submitting the data. There's equal importance on each file. We always encourage you to get a head start. Uh, that would include looking at what was reported last year by using the ODS reports, having your curriculum instruction staff review those reports and see if anything needs to be adjusted. Of course, we're past that process now, but as you're submitting the data before you certify, that report review involving curriculum instruction or your administration goes a long way. It helps, you know, identify potential questions, or they may ask questions before they become, potential misassignments down the road. So, report 4.3 is one of the reports that we kind of indicated, and it's because it shows you so many of the course section details. And then we have the different CalSAS exceptions. So you have CalPADS code errors. Again, these are misalignments because the course content code or the non-classroom based job assignment code describes um, the what the course is or what the activity the staff member is doing, and that might not line up with their credentials or what their authorizations allow them to teach. You have your special education services. So every course that is reported with a 700 in the instructional strategy code, the ones that Kyron said are specific courses where every student has to be a student with disability. Once you identify a course with a 700, they stop looking at um, the subject matter credentials of the staff member, and they're looking to see if the staff member is authorized to serve those students and their primary disability. Then you have your EL service codes. So again, every course in addition to subject matter authorizations, if there's English learners in there, you're going to look at that staff member's EL authorizations and do the education service codes line up with that. And so you have report 4.3, staff teaching assignment detail. And so you can identify CalPADS code errors or examine them by, identifying the teachers at the school. So you have the school and the teacher seed and the course that they are teaching or courses. And what we don't have represented is that teachers' authorizations and credentials, but your credentialing analysts should. And they should know whether or not Jimbo Jones is authorized to teach English. And so coming back to here, let's go to CalSAS information, appropriate credentials for CalPAS state course codes. And I think it was 9105 was the English course. course title. You can see the authorizations that are required. And so your credentialing analyst can use this website as a tool, but they should know already. So that's how you would, look at to see if it's a state course code. Perhaps uh, the course code isn't appropriate, and it's the teacher's teaching the course and the students, and everything's fine in practice. Just the code that was used doesn't line up. Your special education services, again, you're going to identify the teacher's credentials and authorizations using the seed. The instructional strategy code identifies that they're teaching special education students. And then we're going to see if they can teach, those students and their primary disability. The EL service code, um, again, looking at the teacher's English language authorizations using their seed. The education service code tells us what they are providing, what kind of instruction they're providing to students. And if primary language of instruction is the education service, then the primary language of instruction is going to be compared to the student enrollment to ensure each student has the corresponding primary language. Um, you don't want to have Arabic speakers in a Spanish primary language of instruction class, right? Report 4.5 staff non-classroom based uh, assignment or support assignment detail. So a lot of the reports again focus on the teaching assignment. Assignment monitoring also focuses on your pupil services and admin staff. So this report is used to ensure that you have the correct job classification code, right? You don't want to have teachers reported as administrators if they don't have the administrative services credential, and then those different support assignments.